Now, what does Subledger accounting does for me? Subledger accounting is nothing but this Subledger accounting engine, which connects my Subledger to my general ledger. So my subledgers are my payables, my receivables, purchasing, or any of my third-party application which FAH creates for me. So all these applications, they create or generate entry with this rule engine. So I create all my rules here, how my accounting will be derived, how my descriptions will be derived. Everything is configured here. And after that, it is posted to my general ledger. So what we are discussing is this engine in this session. Now, how this engine works. So if you see these two black lines, this is what this engine does for me. So I have my transaction, for example, I have a £1,000 receivables transaction. In this engine, I have something called as my SLA events, and I have my accounting rules. So what these events does for me, like we saw, right? We have an invoice created event, we have invoice completed event. So my accounting will be there for these events. You create the invoice, you complete the invoice, you delete an invoice, or you update any invoice, and you have your accounting rules. That is your create accounting program or your online accounting. And then finally it posts my ledger, posts my transaction to general ledger, and then finally from the general ledger I can use these transactions in my financial reports. So this is how the complete process works. Any doubts on anything here?
So XLA events mean, is there any transfer? Does it stands for something? XLA?
XLA is just a short term for subledger accounting. Like if you see the tables kind of thing, the backend part, for AR I have AR tables, AP tables. Similarly for XLA, the table names all starts with XLA tables. This is just Oracle terminology, how we call it. It's just the table names, the backend part. Any other questions?
So we can find XLA events in XLA table. Table name starts with XLA.
Yes, right. Okay, now this is what we are gonna discuss throughout day 1 and day 2. What is my Subledger application? The process categories, like I just showed you while running the process. My event classes. Now for example, if we take the example of a payables application, what will be my process category in payables? My invoices is a separate process category. Payments is a separate process category. So if I just wanna run my accounting for invoices, I will select invoices as my payment category in create accounting program. And if I want to run it for payments, I will select payment. And then under invoices, so it is like part of these. Process categories are part of Subledger application, event classes are part of process categories. So if I take my invoice process category, I have multiple event classes here. So what are these event classes? I have my standard invoices, I have my debit memos, I have my credit memos, I have my prepayments. So my accounting will be different for all these event classes. Under these event types, I have something called as, under these event classes, I have something called as event types. Now for the invoices, it can be my invoice adjustment, it can be my invoice cancelled, my invoice validated. So again, accounting will be different for all these event types. And under the event classes, we have something called as the transaction objects. So how this create accounting program works is, it checks the sources and the accounting attributes which are assigned to sources and the accounting rules to generate your accounting. So it takes help of these 3 boxes. I'm going to discuss each and every box in detail. So this is how my program works, my create accounting program. So this accounting rules we are going to do as part of day 2, and these 3 things we are going to cover it today. So this is my complete Subledger application picture in front of me.
Could you rephrase, on this screen, please?
Okay, so let me just go to the application and show you. Let me open the program again, the Create Accounting program. Because this is the program which is gonna run the engine in the backend and generate accounting entries for me. So once I say Create Accounting, so this is my Subledger application, which is my first part. So if I select my payables here, it's gonna ask me for a ledger because it will take the accounting method from the ledger that they are gonna run accounting as per which rules. So I'll just select any ledger, and after that it's asked me for a process category. This is not a mandatory field. Means I can run it for all the categories. So for payables, it's giving me two categories. It's giving me invoices and it's giving me payments. So these are the categories against which I can create my accounting entries. So I'll say I want to account it first. And process events. These events are different than the event classes we are discussing here, which I can show you in the Subledger screen. So let's go there. So these managing Subledger and creation of all these things. So all these are standard for the standard modules. Like if I take payables example, which is an Oracle module. Let me just go to payables, all tasks, and let me click on manage Subledger application. So here you can see your Subledger application. So this is the short name, your journal source, and these are your event model. So under event model you have your process categories, right? So you can see that this is not enabled for you because this is a standard application. So I have two process categories. I have my invoices and I have my payments. So under invoices I have my event classes. So what can be the types of invoices in a layman terms? Invoice can be my credit memo, it can be my debit memo, it can be my expense report, my standard invoice, or my prepayment invoices. So it can be any of these. And under each of these I'll have my my event types. Now each class will have a type on its own. So for the credit memo class, I have my type as my adjusted credit memos, my cancelled credit memos, my validated credit memos. The main thing for all of these is the accounting. The accounting will be different for all of them. For example, once you create the invoice, your journal entry will be different, and once you cancel it, it will be a different journal entry. So the purpose of all this dividation is again your accounting. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So these things I'll cover in detail, how the engine works on the rules, because this is a detailed topic. So I'll cover in detail. Okay. Now the technical design, what is difference between your FAH and SLA? Before going to that, let me show you the FAH here. So for the payables, you have seen all these options. So you can see your manage subledger, update options, transaction objects, sources. Now all these options you will see under your FAH as well. So if I go to my different product, remember it's a different project and we can use it standalone. We don't need financials to use FAH. So under FAH, if I go to my accounting transformation, now this is my SLA. So SLA is a part of my Fusion Accounting Hub. You will see all these all the same options here as well. The only difference is scope. So under FAH, I can select my own legacy or any other application here. Even the standard one, I can select, or I can create my own application here, which is not for the standard applications. So what it says, from a technology perspective, there is no difference at all. XLA, what is my tables or backend, is SLA and is FAH. Fusion Accounting Hub is similar to SLA. It's just the functionality. There is no difference between these two. The only distinction is, with SLA, you just get seeded event models. So event models are what we discussed in the previous slide. That is this one. My event classes, protest. So these three boxes are called event model. You have your invoices as a category, credit memos and debit memos as a class, and type. So these three makes you an event model. So this is seeded in my SLA, whereas in FH you can desire, or you can create you can use your own components to create your own Subledger accounting method and your Subledger accounting application. So SLA handles your seeded applications, your Oracle applications, that is your receivables, payables, and your seeded accounting method, seeded event models, which cannot be changed. You can build extension, that's a separate thing, but you cannot change them. Whereas in FH, you can define your own. So that's the main difference. Any doubts? Okay, cool. So today we'll be discussing a bit how the SLA works. How do you create an application and how does it work? So this is my first step, creation of your Subledger application. So I am already in my Fusion Accounting Hub under the accounting transformation. Under my Manage Subledger application, if you click on Scope, you will click here on the Create Subledger application to create new. Just remember these steps, because after this you're going to create your own applications. So just ask me if you have any doubts, any questions here. So I'm clicking on the first part and I'm clicking on Apply and Go to Task. Okay. So these are the options it will ask me. Your Subledger application name. So this is okay. So in this application, it will asking you for a general source. So you have to define your journal sources first. So these are the standard sources. So I have created as a first step how to create your sources and categories first. So let us go there. I'll first show you create an application and then you can use a seeded source. So once you do a hands-on exercise, just do it with your initials. So I'll just say PQ1 or something, and then you create your Subledger applications. So I'm saying that it's my payables legacy application. I have a third-party system. And I'll give a short name for the application. I'll say PQ1_AP_legacy. I'll give a description. And I need to give a journal source. So as of now, I'll simply select any available journal sources. But I'll show you how to create it after that. Okay, let me just see if that works, because these are created by someone else. Your control account type. Okay, so what is control account type? If you have already trained on Journal Ledger, I guess the guys you have worked on GL, Rachel and Usha, you already know what control types are. So in GL, you can qualify your natural accounts to be a third-party control account. So what this means is that only Subledger can create a journal to that account. You cannot create any manual journals. So, and if you want to make it a third-party account, you must qualify this to your supplier or customer or any application. So if you want your application, this Subledger application, to be a control account, you can select it will be my customer control account or my supplier or any or none. As of now, we are just making it, we are not making it a control type account application, so we'll just select none here. Then you have support multiple valuation methods. So what this does is, what this means is, like we have taken example, right, that you have a IFRS method and you have a US GAAP method. So this option applies when you have at least one secondary ledger associated with your primary ledger. So you have two ledgers and you want to use multiple valuation methods. So when you choose this option, this tells your create accounting process to create multiple accounting events for one transaction. So one AP invoice that you created will be accounting in two different ways. It will be accounting as per as your IFRS and it will be accounting as per your US GAAP. If you do not choose this option, only one event will be created for both primary and secondary ledgers. So it sends a separate journal to secondary but using same accounting event as the primary. So it will not create separate accounting event. So make sure that if you are going to have multiple accounting methods that you're going to use, you enable this option. The next option is calculate reporting currency amounts. So if you want to create your accounting to calculate the accounting amount to your reporting currency, for example, your primary ledger, it doesn't have a reporting currency attached, then this option is not required. But if you are using your reporting ledgers or your reporting currency, then you have to enable this option. So I can say, yes, I'm using that, then I will enable this. So this is a draft how I create my Subledger application. Now let's see how we create these journal sources. Any doubts here how to create the Subledger application? Sorry, I didn't hear. Any questions, Raj?
So, why you are again mentioning about control account type option here? Obviously we are creating accounting, journal accounting.
No. So account type here means it's a Subledger application account type. For example, I'm talking about a third-party application, my legacy system. So I'm creating a Subledger application for only my customers. That is, it's my customer engine. It has nothing to do with the accounting, or it's not my receivables engine. It's just my customer engine, or it's just my supplier engine, which are my third parties. So if I'm going to use this application for that purpose, I will select that. But if it is a normal, I'm creating a payables application here. So my payables application cannot be a controlled one. It cannot be a third-party control application.
Okay.
If I just create my supplier as my application, I just have a legacy which deals with my suppliers only, that's it. It has no transactions in this. In this way, I'll use it as a third-party control.
Okay.
Okay. Rachel just typed, what is this drill down URL used for? Okay. Okay, so this drill down US, because it's a third-party application that we are creating, in your original legacy, you enter your URL of legacy here because it's a payables application, and your payables, I guess it says Rachel and Anusha left the meeting. Can you guys hear me? No, they left the meeting, sorry. Let's hear for them to be back. I lost both of them. Okay, just give us some time, guys. I'm just waiting for these two to join back. Okay. In the meantime, do you have any questions, Raj and Vignesh, while you're waiting for Rachel and Anusha to be back?
No, Priya, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Let me just check with Chris, discussing about this drill down URL. So once you have your legacy application, for example, here I'm saying that I'm using tables in my legacy. I'm not using Oracle tables, and I'm creating my legacy application here, but my transactions exist in my legacy. So I'll give a drill down URL here so that from the Subledger accounting, I can see my transactions using this URL. So you'll prefix it with HTTP and then you'll give your legacy application URL here for your transactions drill down. Does that answer your question?
Yes, we understood. I understood that.
Okay, perfect. So I'll click on save and close. And this is my application which is created. Now let's go to my first step which says general sources and journal categories. So let us do that. Manage journal sources and manage journal categories. So let me create a general source first, which I'm gonna attach it to my Subledger. So once you do these hands-on exercises, you will create your source first, your category, and then you will attach it to your Subledger application. It is again my legacy source. So I'll just say general source, or I'll say my legacy source. Make sure you give your initials for the naming and also that you know this is you have created. And okay, are you gonna freeze journals or you gonna allow them to make any changes? I'm saying no, I'm not gonna freeze it. It's just the normal GL options. My accounting date. If you wanna import your journal references as well from the Subledger, you want to enable your journal approvals. Like some of you have worked on approval management. So this is how it kicks. So if you enable this, you can define your approvals for your journals. And this is your import using key instead of your source name. So we'll come to journal sources and all. So most of these options will be covered in detail as part of your FAH training, but I'm just showing you how it works here. So my main motive will be your Subledger accounting. This is just to give you a flavor how the source is and how you create applications. But the detailed one, how you do it, will be covered as part of your FAH training. So I'll click on save and close.
So in which scenario you will be freeze the journal?
If you do not want to give users access, that once you have closed your period and all, that they cannot make any changes. So you'll just freeze your journals. So users will not be able to make any changes to that source. For example, for cash management and all, you normally freeze the journals so that users won't be able to make any updates. And if you want, they have to contact the administrator who will unfreeze them, and then they'll be able to make the changes. So it's just the controlling part, how you're going to control your application. Your journal categories, the same way I created a source, I'll create a category as well. I'll choose legacy, journal category. So these category key and everything, again, this should be used mostly in FAH. Once you define and once you use in your tables and all, you will use this as a unique identifier. This is your primary key. And I'll save and close. So this is nothing but building of a custom application, like building of an application like payables or receivables in your FAH. So that's how I have created my Subledger application. Now once you create your Subledger application, I will come back from General Ledger to my accounting transformation. You have something called as Update Subledger Application Options. So once you create your application, you will run this process. This is nothing but a scheduled program which you run it for your application. So mine was this one, PK1 legacy application. So what this program will do is, this will activate the ledger options for your newly registered application. You will specify for this application what will be my accounting method or other things like the suspense accounts or any other accounting process. I mean, all the ledger options will be activated with this program for your new application. And I will submit this. And let's see if it programs get completed. Okay, schedule process. So this program is completed. Your application options are updated now. Okay, so before I go to, okay, so yeah, we have some time. Let me cover this before I give you for your hands-on. So if I move back to my first slide, that is my Subledger application. So this step I have completed. I have created my custom tables application in the system. Now under this application, I have to create my process categories, I have to create my event classes, and I have to create my event types. Now let's do this.